CFOs and CEOs truly, truly at all organizations appreciate and respect the Treasury profession. I've been places where I was basically the deputy CFO. I was on the executive leadership team. They truly understood the value Treasury gives. And I was at other places where it was really VP of tax and treasurer, right? And Treasury, like, could you just please make the payments? Could you just please do your Excel spreadsheets? And I don't, you know what I mean? We don't see you as a strategic partner. So that's the one thing it's such a gift when you have a CEO and a CFO that see you that way.
Before we start, I want to highlight the biggest challenge I've noticed in the Treasury industry. It's professionals finding it tough to build an impactful brand. That's exactly why I put together an ebook, Building and Managing an Impactful Professional Brand. It has helped over 100 professionals define their unique values and stand out in their careers. In this ebook, you'll find practical tips to build a strong network and sharpen the skills you need to succeed in this industry. And the best part? It's completely free. Grab your copy now by clicking the link in the description below. Welcome to the premiere episode of the Treasury Truth or Dare podcast, where we explore the thrilling world of Treasury, spiced with Treasury truths and dares performed by our guest and yours truly. Today, we're delighted to host Stephanie Kusta. She's a vice president of treasurer of Orveon Global. She brings over 2 decades of treasury expertise from diverse industries and amazing companies like Treasury Industry and Abercrombie Fitch. In this session, she will explore key treasury topics such as the strategic value of treasury, cash flow forecasting, the importance of strong bank relationship, and shares her vision for improving treasury system. Throughout the episode, Stephanie will be faced with a series of truth or dare rounds to decide whether she'll share professional experiences or take on a dare live. After a few rounds, Stephanie gets to turn the tables and issue a dare to me, ensuring an engaging mix of professional wisdom and fun. Join us as Stephanie makes her debut Truth or Dare choice. This is promising to be an episode packed with enlightening treasury truths and entertaining dares. Hello, everyone. This is Ernie Humphrey. Welcome to our episode of the Treasury Truth or Dare podcast. I'm honored and humbled to have with me today Stephanie Kusta. She's the vice president and treasurer of Orveon Global. Stephanie, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome. And why don't you give us a little bit about your background before we jump in?
Sure, Ernie. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been in Treasury for about 20 years now, maybe a little longer than that. I kind of landed there by accident. It's just a first job as a junior analyst and just fell in love with it and stayed there. So I've worked in a variety of places. I worked at Electrolux and it did the white goods and the appliances. And then I spent time at a Goodyear spinoff, then went to Treasury Industry, which is a cryogenic manufacturing.
Oh, wow.
And you want to move or store gas as a liquid. So Praxair, Airgas, those were their big customers. And that was my first treasurer role. And there I got to be on the executive leadership team. So I loved that opportunity to steer the organization outside of Treasury. And then from there, I decided to go to retail because, of course, cryogenic tanks to skinny
there
jeans.
You go.
Yeah, so I went to Abercrombie Fitch and spent some time there. And now I am at Orveon, which is beauty. It's a carve-out, brand new organization. So getting a chance to start that treasury team from scratch. And that's been super fun. So that's where I'm at in a nutshell.
So that's why we were honored to have Stephanie as a guest today, in short. So let's give a little explanation for those of you who haven't enjoyed our podcast yet. The way things work is we're going to have several rounds where I'll ask Stephanie to accept a truth or a dare, and then based on her choice, I will ask her a question or give her a fun, semi-professional dare. And then after a few rounds, we'll give Stephanie the opportunity to offer myself a dare as well, which I will do without hesitation. So, Stephanie, to kick us off, would you like to go for a truth or start us out with a dare?
Let's warm up with the truth.
All right. So you have such amazing experience in Treasury. One of the things we're trying to do here is show people that Treasury can be exciting. So why is it fun to work in Treasury?
I think it's fun to work with Treasury once you find your way to be part of the large organization, right? You can't just put your head down and focus on processing payments and applying cash and forecasting cash. It's getting involved in the stuff that can add value to the organization. At Electrolux, I got to work with the tax team, and we set up maquiladoras in Mexico. And so I was going there with them and making sure those ops were happening the way they needed to be. It's at Orveon, getting with the supply chain team because working capital matters, right? So it's taking that Treasury role, but expanding it and being strategic. And that is what I love. And that's the cross functionality that gets me out of bed in the morning.
That's great. One thing you mentioned the cross functionality, and I don't think we don't do a good job of promoting that, how exciting it is to work with leaders across the entire C-suite and operations. And I've been through the maquila process, so I did a little shakes based on my experience there. So that's definitely an interesting process to go through. So thank you for sharing that. So let's go ahead and transition ourselves to round two. What's your choice here now? Truth or dare?
Let's do a dare. Let's do it.
All right. So, in my opinion, and I think you share, Treasury professionals don't spend enough time building connections with our bankers. How can we do better at that as Treasury people?
I was literally just talking to people about that this week. Because back in the day when when I first started, bankers were really good about having happy hours with corporates and getting us together. And it created this relationship. And there was a point in my career where I was, part of a reduction in force, and I needed that network. And it's the bankers that were so great because they know what companies are looking. They know what it's like to work with you, and they're in there. A lot of times, right, CFOs will go to bankers before they put a job out on the market, say, do you know anybody? Right? So that's where I think, whether it's your local AFP organization or the national, or really just trying to make the time to go to lunch with your bankers and create those relationships. Do on COVID, we started doing the virtual wine tastings and all that kind of stuff. It really does matter. And I tell this story where I actually had one of my treasury management officers do my wedding. She married me and my husband because we became such good friends.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It was great, right? And those are, we can find those connections. We can find those relationships, even with bankers, right? But we do have to make the time, and we do have to invest because there actually may come a time where we need them. Right.
I love that. I think we found out some of this in 2008 when the shoe was on the other foot, so to speak. So we need bankers. I think for me as a treasury person, I was taught that there's a stigma, bankers, even though it was fun, it was you got to watch out for the bankers. But I really want to emphasize your point of building those relationships, but they can be a great person to help you in your career, right? And for me, this is an interesting segue. One of my bankers is the one that got me involved in AFP. And then I started working at AFP. So I think we could all do better in building those relationships with our bankers. So thank you for sharing that with us. So let's go ahead and go for round three. We can do dare. Yeah, let's do dare. Oh man. All right. Let me think here. All right. That's one. What movie is your guilty pleasure? I cannot believe it. Oh, come on. That's what we're all
I know.
about.
I'm going to. Great. There is a Bollywood movie called Bride and Prejudice. It is the Bollywood version, and it's so cheesy. It's a musical. It is my, I don't feel well, I'm in bed, and it's not a good movie, but I love every minute of it.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I was speaking to another guest, and whether it's a movie or a song, people need to have something to go back to. There's ups and downs in life and treasury. So just reminding people that, put the movie in, put the song on, and you need to have that. So thank you so much for being willing to share that with us.
Sure. All right, let's do a truth. Now I'm embarrassed.
All right, let's do a truth. Okay. So this came to my mind when I talked to you. So how have you been able to make time to invest in your professional brand and serve on the AFP Regional Association? What's the ROI for our younger Treasury folks to doing those
Yeah.
things?
So, I mean, for me, it's been huge. When I first started in Treasury, there was also go back to your point about bankers. There was a Treasury, I forget what they're called, like associate at a bank, that was also brand new. And she and I kind of taught each other. Like she gave me the insights on how to read a bank fee analysis. And I kind of told her like, hey, this is what I'm hearing when people talk about the banks behind their backs. And you start to build those relationships, and then you're networking, you're meeting people, you're having people you can ask, those questions that you may not want to ask your boss, or you may not want, you feel safe, right? That maybe that's a question you feel like you should know the answer to and you don't about Treasury, or there's an issue that somebody else has solved. Right. And having those connections and having a place to go, having a place to constantly learn and get better. Anytime we think we know everything, well, that's when we're done in our careers. Right. That's where you've lost sight of where you can go. So that's why I make time for it. And I love giving back too. Like now that I'm on the board, I get to make sure that I benefited so much earlier in my career. I want to make sure that that's there and that continues to be there for future generations.
No, that's great. I feel you inspiring. One of the things you and I talked about a little bit is we need to work on supporting the younger folks in our profession. And I also love that you mentioned a safe space. So having a safe space with the banker, right? So we get nervous talking to bankers, so that's a safe space. And then we can be a safe space. What are the things I should talk about and avoid? So love that advice. Okay, we almost get to give me a dare. One more round. Truth or dare?
Right. Dealer's choice. What do you want to give me?
All right, let's do this. All right. I don't know. I think it's your truth. It's not a Treasury truth, but it's your truth. What is the greatest college football team in America?
The Ohio State University, of course, evidenced by the most recent season.
What's your take on the game against Notre Dame? What's your prediction on that one?
I am a nervous Nelly. Most people don't want to watch the game with me because I get I take it way too seriously. So I am nervous. I will go in nervous. And also Marcus Freeman, Buckeye. So we all know the man can coach.
Oh, okay.
He comes from a good lineage. So I'm nervous, but my father-in-law is a huge Irish fan. He's constantly trying to get my kids to say go Irish. So they have to. Ohio State has to win this.
Oh, yeah.
I am not going to keep visiting my ankles anytime soon.
The consequences are devastating.
They're devastating.
I got to follow up on that one. This might be a little hard. What's your favorite game that you've watched or been to as an Ohio State fan?
That's hard. That's really hard. But probably watching I'm going to get the year wrong because I'm old.
That's okay.
I think it's 2002 national championship that Gene Russell won. Because it was it was like that early on, the new way of doing things. And I know Trussell left in a kind of a dark cloud, but God, it was because he was such a good man. And I love to see him succeed. So, and actually at the time I knew one of the players, so that was very cool to have someone I knew win. So,
all right. Here comes time to turn the tables here. I'm going to let you give me a dare.
All right. I want to know, and if you're willing, bonus points for singing a few bars of your favorite karaoke song.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I'll do my very best. It's hard a cappella, but usually the safe one that I go to, and I think you may like this given your musical taste, is a little Barry Manilow song called Nandy. So I'll try. Here we go. Here. I remember all my life raining down as cold as ice. So
that's great. Yeah, I can't. My desire is to be able to. I love to sing, but no one wants to hear that, and the glass nearby doesn't want to hear that. But
we do. It's fun. Okay, let's turn the tables back a little bit. Are we gonna go for truth or dare?
Let's do a truth.
Okay. All right. I'm giving you 3 wishes to grant on behalf of the Treasury profession? What are they?
I remember you told me this might be a question, and I've been thinking about this. I think
Yeah.
number one, systems that actually work, right? I mean, I spent the entire AFP last national conference meeting with every single TMS provider and talking about the potential to get cash flow forecasting. And then I talked to all the corporates that have actually done them. And I just love thinking this doesn't exist. Like, they can all say we can do it. And probably when people hear this podcast, my email is going to blow up from all the providers telling me they can do it. But especially as someone who does the indirect and direct and wants them to tie together, I mean, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
Right.
So a system that really could take multiple inputs from an ERP system, from your banking system, from your brain, right, and just really help you. I just don't know that we're ever going to get out of Excel. So that would be my one wish. My second wish is that CFOs and CEOs truly, truly at all organizations appreciate and respect the Treasury profession. I've been places where I was basically the deputy CFO. I was on the executive leadership team. They truly understood the value Treasury gives. And I was at other places where it was really VP of tax and treasurer, right? And Treasury, like, could you just please make the payments? Could you just please do your Excel spreadsheets? And you know what I mean? We don't see you as a strategic partner. So that's the one thing it's such a gift when you have a CEO and a CFO that see you that way. And lastly, this kind of goes back to our earlier question, is that banks and bankers that work at the speed of their customers. I was once told that controls don't work if they don't work at the speed of business, right? Because people are always going to look for ways to get around them. I think that's the biggest problem with banks. And it's not completely their fault, regulation, red tape, all of these things. But man, how much do most of us bang our heads against the wall when we know we need something from our banker partners? And it feels like it should be an easy ask. And 1 month later, you're still banging your head against the wall. So I would love to see that.
Yeah, and like you said, the controls, the compliance, and then eventually we'll come around this episode and have a whole episode on KYC and things like that that are just a little bit of a stopper to productivity.
Yeah, you have to have liquid refreshments on that one for whoever you talk to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another podcast story. I have been in a meeting where they had liquid refreshments because I talked on cloud computing for like 3 hours, and so I said that was probably not a terrible idea. So it is possible. Okay, what we'll do here is give you one more truth or dare. We'll let you get me one more time, and then we'll go ahead and let you make some closing comments.
Okay, so we can do dare.
All right. Okay, share with us the least favorite part of your professional life.
This has come in waves for me and has moved around as my profession has changed. But I really think for me, it's become kind of what I just talked about, like just trying to get something done, like how hard it can be now to update a bank signer, all the forms, all the paperwork, all the babysitting, and then you still find out 3 years later that person's still on the bank account in some other system that never got ruined. It's just the monotony and the administration. Like it gets in the way of doing the fun, exciting things. And it's such a necessary evil of Treasury.
All right. It's kind of tying back to exactly what you said. And we can all share signatory stories. When I was in Treasury, we had people on the bank accounts that had been deceased for a few years. So it'd be nice to get notice about stuff like that,
Yeah.
That's maybe not compliant. All right. So I'll let you hit me up with another dare, and then I'll let you wrap things up for it.
What's your most embarrassing moment in your career?
Oh, I got to come up with a new one. I've shared. I'll share it again, but I have another one. So this one I'll share maybe multiple times because I was speaking at a conference of treasurers, Corporate Treasurers Council. So it was the meeting for the whole United States. There was probably 150 people there. So there was 2 session tracks. One session was me hosting like a roundtable and discussion, and the other session was a senior treasury person from Microsoft. So guess how many people came to my session?
No.
0.
Oh no.
So they call me Donut. So I'm sure now people are going to start calling me Donut on that one. And a couple of embarrassing things are just, there's been a couple of times where I speak all the time. So there was one time you remember, I still have nightmares about it. I was giving a presentation and it's like my brain switched off, and I got off. I call it going off the rails, and I just couldn't get back on track, and people were looking at me and I was getting in my head. And so no matter how often you speak, sometimes, it's like being a stand-up comic. You're on, or you're off. And a couple of times is related. I was a startup and we're talking to the board and I'm saying something and they're looking at me and I'm like, I got over my skis a little bit. So I think those are fun. So in wrapping up for us, just share with us, what are a few things that you would love to share with all the folks that are going to listen to this podcast to make a fine point on it, give you the stage about why Treasury is important, why it's fun, why we need to be more involved, something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should always be involved because we're the keepers of the cash.
That's right.
And we can talk about the P&L, but in the grand scheme of things, that's funny money, right? And there's plenty of ways to work your P&L. But in the end of the day, and this is one thing I do like about private equity, is cash is king. And the true health of your organization is your liquidity and what you have, the powder to run your business, right? You can't invest in new things if you don't have cash. You can't pay your people if you don't have cash, right? You can't come up with new and exciting things if you don't have cash. So I think the more that organizations realize that, and also Treasury can be partners, right? The banks and the other fintechs out there, they provide a lot of really awesome products that we can help bring to the table if we know what's going on. And so I think the more that we're seen as partners, and this is on us too, like we have to set up the one-on-ones in our organizations with the supply chain leadership, with the people that are running the revenue, like chief revenue officer, like this is on us to create those relationships as well. And maybe if we needed some support from our bosses, right, to make sure that those intros are appropriate and they just don't hit decline and wonder why on earth their treasurers were reaching out to them. But I think the more we work at cross-functionally building relationship, externally building relationships, the better we are at our jobs and the better our organizations will be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing with us some great Treasury knowledge, tips, actionable advice, but also being open to share a few dares and let us get to know you a little bit. I'm only going to say this once. I'm going to get a hard time for it. Go Buckeyes. I think I just cringed, but okay. So thank you very much. And finally, to our audience, live your Treasury truth and dare to be great at whatever you choose to do in your life. Thanks for watching the show. I hope you guys liked it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned and hit the subscribe button for more.